Hello, I'm Lara Kulcherson, and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online.
Where's your channel covering this? Cover this! Say the truth. We understand you're an employee. You're just a puppet. You're just a mouthpiece. Come talk to me like a human being. Come talk to me like a human being. Thank you. We are watching an occupation, and we are watching the result of your silence, of your misrepresentation.
That was Egyptian journalist and media strategist Rahma Zein. She went viral back in October 2023 after confronting a CNN reporter at the Rafah border. Rahma called out the Western media for how they were covering the war in Gaza. I sat down with her at TRT World's Next Forum 2025, and we started by talking about the need for global newsrooms to change the way they tell the story.
Journalist, if you're sitting behind your keyboard, putting more effort into creating a title that falsely shows what's happening in Palestine, rather than speaking about your colleagues, where over 180 now journalists have been killed by Israel, you're not a journalist, you're a propaganda machine. Those mainstream media that we used to call seasoned journalists and put them on a pedestal are now just helping orchestrate this genocide. It is very difficult to be a journalist if you're not on the ground. I was on the ground, and I remember seeing the same people that were dubbed as thugs or as bad or as the best of people. But it's about you seeing them, not seeing what's said about them. The proper journalism, or the journalism my grandfather used to speak about, is you creating the trend, not you simply following the trend.
When mainstream media failed to show what was really happening on the ground, it was ordinary people who picked up their phones and shared the truth online. Their voices helped the Palestinian story break through and take over the online space. But even with all that attention, Israel's actions haven't stopped.
Because we've become such an online world, we forget the offline work that we need to do. You don't need to necessarily go do a viral video or confront, but there is so much in your capacity to do. Speak up, despite there may be backlash or not. You use all platforms in front of you, but you can also do physical things. One thing that would be very effective to help are helping the student movements and helping them morally and helping them with funding, because funding is something important. Zionists pour so much money into their own movements, into their own PR, into their own. We need to also help the people that are speaking up.
Rahma attended last year's student protests across the US. She joined students as they called on their universities to cut ties with companies linked to the war in Gaza. At the UCLA encampment, she witnessed how the movement grew.
It was insanity. Because let me tell you something, this was such a point where you see media manipulation. So for example, UCLA had thousands of students. Media never called them students. They'd call them protesters. They'd make it seem like they were just disruptors, without talking about what they're disrupting for. But at the end of the day, these students are ones who are learning international law and justice and art in their classrooms, and seeing outside that if you speak with your art, you're cancelled. They're seeing that if you say killing families is wrong, you are faced with oppression and media manipulating you. So it was interesting for me to see that. But what it also does is that it stops people from helping these students, because they're called protesters, they're called infiltrators, they're called just activists, without it being perceived as mainstream movement. On the other side, guess what? You had these group of Zionists who are ex-IDF soldiers, who have a stage that was done with thousands of dollars that were poured in by Zionists. They have their own private security called Apex. They had catering. They were playing torture music. They released lab rats on the students that were protesting against the genocide in Palestine. And all of this was met with more suppression by the university administration towards the students that are actually facing the violence.
The first group of Afrikaners left South Africa for the US on Sunday. They're part of US President Donald Trump's refugee program. Hundreds of people had applied, but just 49 were granted refugee status. It's unclear whether the offer will be extended to more Afrikaners. South Africa's government described the decision as politically motivated. 7% of the population of 63 million are made up of white people, and half of whom are Afrikaners. While they may be smiling, Americans are questioning Trump's decision.
We've been forgotten. It's very hard for us to travel. It's very hard for us to get visas. So to suddenly hear that a country like the United States is offering us refugee status was a really big deal. And I was so excited. I felt so relieved. It just felt like a lifeline.
Thousands of refugees from Africa, the Caribbean, and across the global south are being blocked at the gates. Deportation rates are tearing through Black and brown communities across the U.S. And over 500,000 Haitians who fled violence, instability, and disaster are being stripped of their temporary protective status. Refugee policy, once rooted in the idea of protecting the world's most vulnerable, is now being reshaped by race, by influence, and by ideology. White South Africans, descended from colonizers, will be flown in and funded with taxpayer dollars, y'all. Your hard-earned money. My people, this isn't just about President Trump. It's about a system that's always known how to bend the rules when the people asking for help look like the people in power.
Trump says the Afrikaner minority face racial discrimination, allegations dismissed by Pretoria, but regularly peddled in far-right circles and repeated by Trump's right-hand man, South African-born Elon Musk. The refugee offer came after Washington cut aid to South Africa. Pretoria says they are being punished for taking Israel, the US's biggest ally, to the International Court of Justice for its atrocities in Gaza. While South African social media users prepare the US on who to expect, Americans advise that life ain't gonna be easy.
Just a warning, you're not getting our best Afrikaners. You're getting the ones who are so cucked they couldn't even make it work with apartheid's help.
To all of the South African Afrikaans refugees that are coming to America soon, I just want to let you know, as someone whose wife is Afrikaans, who's been to South Africa multiple times, you're gonna have a bad time. There's no white genocide happening in South Africa. You have crime that's happening as a result of racism-fueled generational economic inequality, the same thing that's happening in America. We're just a couple decades ahead of you on the unchecked capitalism timeline. But I have good news for you. You don't have to worry about the cheap exploited labor rising up against you anymore, because now that you're in America, you'll get to be the cheap exploited labor. If you were middle class or upper middle class in South Africa and you come to America, you're poor now. Like, really poor. You're not gonna have maids and gardeners and personal servants that you can pay $15 a day for. Now you get to be the cheap labor. But by all means, please come to America and experience the American capitalism that Elon Musk's been raving about to you. You'll probably love it.
How often we have wondered what went through someone's mind before they were killed in a crime, and what they would say to their killer. A grieving sister used artificial intelligence to generate a video of her late brother to speak during a sentencing hearing in Arizona, marking the first known use of AI in this way.
Just to be clear for everyone seeing this, I am a version of Chris Pelkey recreated through AI that uses my picture and my voice profile. I was able to be digitally regenerated to share with you today. But here is insight into who I actually was in real life. Just like Jesus says, love God and love people, being in that community with people where we can lift each other up and support each other and have that community. So I would like to make my own impact statement to Gabriel Horcasitas, the man who shot me. It is a shame we encountered each other that day in those circumstances. In another life, we probably could have been friends. I believe in forgiveness and in God who forgives. I always have, and I still do.
Stacey Wales spent years struggling to write a victim impact statement after her brother was shot and killed. She eventually turned to AI to generate a version of her late brother's voice and face to deliver the message in court. Gabriel Paul Horcasitas was sentenced to more than 10 years in prison for killing Pelkey during the 2022 road rage incident in Arizona. The case reflects a broader trend of people using AI to digitally recreate lost loved ones. It's especially popular in true crime communities on TikTok and has also been used in advocacy campaigns, including a gun violence initiative that featured deepfake voices of victims speaking to Congress.
I was murdered at school by a shooter with an AR-15 assault rifle. My voice has been recreated using powerful AI technology, along with the voices of others who have lost their lives to gun violence.
With our voices, we will call members of Congress confronting their inaction with the harrowing stories of how we were killed.
We'll call again,
And again, and again,
until change is made.
because our stories need to be heard, and who better to tell them than us?
But there's also a darker side to AI, especially when systems replace humans in the workplace. Cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike, the one that caused the massive global IT outage last year, now announced that it's slashing 5% of its workforce due to AI efficiency.
The CDO says the reason is the company's growing use of artificial intelligence. AI helps them work faster, cut costs, and do more with fewer people. Other companies like Box, Duolingo, and Shopify are also pushing employees to use AI. Even though CrowdStrike is cutting jobs, it's still hiring in some key areas. The company wants to grow and hit $10 billion in yearly revenue. But this move shows how AI is changing the job market. Some roles are disappearing while others are being created.
But is AI making things safer or riskier? And where will it leave those who work in cybersecurity space?
Here's why AI will not replace your cybersecurity job completely. First, cybersecurity requires context-aware decision-making that AI struggles to replicate. Humans are able to assess risks, navigate ambiguities, and make ethical decisions in ways AI cannot. Also, coordinating cross-departmental security initiatives, addressing legal implications, and communicating with stakeholders requires human skill. Finally, AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on. Ultimately, as a cybersecurity professional, you can stay ahead of AI and other technological advancements by focusing on skills and roles that require creativity, adaptability, and a deep understanding of the cyber threat landscape.
10-pin bowling is more than hurling a ball towards pins. It takes more precision than actual skill to master the game. The sport brings friends and family together, but competition can get stiff. Now, scientists have discovered a formula that's bound to fuel rivalries. And with science comes accuracy. They have calculated how to achieve the perfect strike based on the rotation of a rigid body and laid out the exact conditions needed to achieve it. That includes the positioning of the ball and its path to secure the play under different scenarios.
Ball has to be released at 17.9 miles per hour at a 45-degree angle with a spin rate of 416 revolutions per minute. What's a 45-degree angle? This is accurate. Does it say anything about the ball size? Is the ball weight a thing? This one? They're all way too heavy. I have to throw it at a 45-degree angle, yeah? To guarantee a strike. And it has to be well oiled. I'll try again. I don't think it's 100% accurate. I'll give it one more go, and then we can officially say that this surely isn't true. Third and final go. If this goes in the gutter, I am officially debunking Loughborough Uni. No, I don't want to get cancelled. I don't debunk it. You're probably right. I'm probably really bad at bowling. I've got nothing to say. I actually have nothing to say.
Sorry, Boffins, but the formula doesn't seem to be as precise. But if more research does offer a working technique, it will change the game for athletes who take part in professional events. Across tournaments, millions of dollars are up for grabs. The new discovery could lead to the emergence of new strategies and equipment designs. And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.